Discover spine-chilling forest horrors, sinister secrets and cursed rain sounds for haunted sleep. Lisa woke up with a jolt, heart pounding, as shadows danced outside her window. The quiet night of her grandmother's cabin quickly twisted a place of refuge transformed into a claustrophobic trap. The woods whispered secrets, their sinister sounds creeping through the air like a warning. She glanced at Oliver, sleeping soundly, blissfully unaware of the horrors surrounding them. But the forest was alive, breathing darkness. Could it sense her fear? After her neighbor's home had been broken into just days before, Lisa had needed an escape. The once cheerful neighborhood had grown menacing, every rustle of leaves and distant siren mingling with her own rising panic. Yet here, amid towering trees and the quiet promise of solace, she hoped they could find peace. Instead, her heart raced every time the wind howled, every creak of the cabin intensifying her dread. They had tasted freedom under the golden sun, with Oliver laughing as he chased butterflies. But as dusk swept in, that laughter faded. The air turned heavy, almost suffocating, and chilling howls resonated in the distance. An animal? Or something else? The hairs on her neck stood on end, and a wave of dread rolled over her. While searching for a distraction, Lisa stumbled across an old diary belonging to her grandmother. With shaky hands, she opened to a page filled with inked fears of a vengeful spirit haunting the woods, punishing those who dared intrude. Dismissive at first, Lisa thought of it as mere folklore. Yet, with every gust of wind and every creak of the old wood, doubt gnawed at her confidence. Oliver had started mentioning figures lurking outside, dark shapes that vanished into the night as she approached. Just then, a loud buzz shattered the silence. It was her phone. A frantic whisper, trembling with fear, came through the speaker. A neighbor warned her there was an escaped predator, a child abductor who had been posing as a local hero. Panic consumed her. She locked the doors and windows, her breath quickening, but her mind raced faster. Too quiet, too confined, the forest loomed closer with every tick of the clock. Her heart thudded in her chest. Was something out there? She moved cautiously to the window, peeking through the grimy glass. A figure clad in dark clothes stood at the edge of the trees. Silence. Each minute ticked by like an hour, nausea twisted in her gut. That figure seemed to sway, as if beckoning her closer or warning her to stay away. Was it the predator? Or just her mind playing tricks? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. The tapping at the cabin door jolted her back to reality. It was soft at first, like a whisper. But then it grew frantic, echoing ominously in the night. Was it Oliver's imagination? Or was something else trying to reach her? Lisa backed away from the window, pulse racing. As she turned, she heard the unmistakable voice of her grandmother call out, soothing yet hollow. "Lisa, let me in." The weight of dread pressed upon her, and she couldn't shake the feeling that the secrets of the forest and the evils of her heart were intertwining. Was her sanctuary now a prison? As the tapping grew louder, she faced the chilling truth. She couldn't tell if the true horror was outside the door or hidden within the shadows of her own heart. Lisa's breath hitched as the tapping intensified, a frantic rhythm that pulsed against the door with a dangerous urgency. "Who is it?" she called, her voice shaky, bordering on a whisper. The shadows in the room seemed to stretch, creeping closer, wrapping around her like a tightening noose. "Lisa," the voice persisted, soft yet laden with something unsettling, something she couldn't quite grasp. It echoed in her mind. The call was reminiscent of her grandmother's but warped, twisted, as if the forest itself had stolen the voice of her beloved matriarch. She glanced over at Oliver, still sleeping, blissfully unaware of the chaos unfolding. A part of her wanted to rush to him, to shield him from the horrors of the night. Yet another part felt anchored, frozen by the eerie call that resonated in her bones. Outside, the wind shrieked, and the trees nodded together in a haunting dance against the moonlight. "Stop it! You're not my grandmother!" Lisa shouted. "Go away!" The weight of her fear pressed down, mingling with the strange melancholy of the voice. Suddenly, the tapping halted, replaced by an eerie stillness that filled the room, suffocating her. Dread pooled in her stomach as the silence stretched thin, each second dragging out like a battered thread on a frayed rope. Then, a low, guttural growl erupted from outside. It broke the stillness like glass shattering, sending shards of terror coursing through her veins. It was answered by the rustling of leaves, deep and threatening, as if something prowled just beyond the door. Panic surged. Lisa grabbed the nearest object, a flimsy lamp, and held it like a shield, ready to defend her son. "Oliver, wake up!" she hissed, desperately trying to sound calm. But inside she felt the storm crashing down. With a sudden burst of static, her phone buzzed again, vibrating angrily on the table. She snatched it up, fingers trembling as she read a message from the neighbor. "He's in the area. Do not open the door." The panic in her chest exploded into a full-blown fire, clawing at her throat. Was that dark figure still out there? She had to protect Oliver. "Mommy?" Oliver's voice cracked through the fragile tension in the room. He blinked awake, rubbing sleep from his eyes. Lisa rushed over, scooping him into her arms. But the comfortable warmth that once enveloped her now felt unsettling, tainted by the growing threat just outside. "Stay close to me. Something's not right," she managed, her voice a sharp whisper. Then, she glanced back at the door, every instinct screaming for her to run away from it. But the struggle of whether to confront the danger or hide from it gnawed at her. Another noise rippled through the night, a soft, metallic scrape against the wood. It wasn't just the wind anymore. Something was testing the boundaries of safety, eager to break through. Her heart thudded violently, drowning out everything else. The walls felt as though they were closing in. "We need to leave," Lisa finally decided, her voice steady with urgency. But where would they go? The thick forest? Or face whatever darkness awaited them beyond the threshold? Just as she gripped the doorknob, determined to escape, the whisper returned, stronger, clearer. "Lisa, it's time to let me in." The words curled around her like a slick fog, urging her to yield, to disobey the primal instinct to protect. Lisa froze. Could it truly be her grandmother? Or something more horrifying trying to manipulate her? She glanced at Oliver, innocent, trusting. The figure in the woods shifted slightly. The silhouette flickered with movement, revealing more chilling details. Fear stung Lisa's eyes. Someone lurked just beyond the door, waiting. Suddenly, the door began to buckle inwards. A final, desperate scream built in her throat as she resolved to fight against the encroaching terror. "No! Don't come in." They were at the edge of a decision, a tipping point. Would they step into the dark unknown, or face the unearthly presence begging to be let in? The door splintered under the pressure, and she could feel the cold breath of the night pushing through the cracks. What awaited them on the other side would either rescue or damn them both. But before Lisa could decide, a chilling laugh echoed through the cabin, reverberating off the walls, merging with the trees outside. The splintered door creaked ominously, its edges yielding under the relentless pressure. Lisa clutched Oliver tighter against her chest, feeling his small heart race with hers as they both cowered at the corner of the dimly lit room. The laugh lingered, twisting like smoke in the air, echoing in her mind and transporting her to memories of family campfires, laughter, safety, things that felt impossibly far away now. "Mommy, what's happening?" Oliver whimpered, his voice small and fragile, a haunting reminder of the innocence that was now perilously close to shattering. "Shoo, it's okay," Lisa whispered, desperately trying to sound soothing. A tremor in her own voice betrayed her fear. She could barely hear herself over the thunder in her chest. There was no time to waste. "We need to find somewhere safe." The forest outside had become alive, the darkness separating it from their little cabin now pulsating with unspeakable dread. Shadows coiled like serpents, flickering through the broken door. Something was coming. Fast. Lisa could feel it, the weight of eyes, unfathomable and hungry, raking over the walls, searching. That a sudden crash shattered through the icy stillness as the door flew open, splintered wood flying into the air like shards of frozen dreams. Panic surged. Lisa dragged Oliver back, her feet stumbling blind in the chaos. The darkness beyond the threshold writhed, morphing into a nightmarish figure, cloaked and grinning, a grotesque mimicry of what should have been family. "Let me in, Lisa," it spoke, the voice now a grating sneer that sparked with malice. "It's time we had a reunion." Lisa felt her stomach churn. This was no longer a voice of sweetness, but a twisted echo, a cruel shadow clad in familiar flesh. The figure stepped forward, revealing itself in the dim candlelight, a reflection of love turned horror. Every detail struck at the core of her being, each facial feature a sharp reminder of everything she had lost, now corrupted. Behind her, the woods rustled, a thrumming of something ancient and angry. The howl of a distant wind mimicked cries of the lost, their silence filled with rage. The trees outside contorted as if moving closer, closing ranks against the cabin, blocking escape routes that led anywhere but deeper into dread. "Mommy, I'm scared." Oliver's tiny fingers tightened around her neck, the only thing anchoring Lisa to her resolve. She couldn't let him see her fear. She had to shield him from this abomination, whatever it was. "Stay close," she hissed, feeling the cold breath of the figure washing over her. The air became thick, suffocating, laced with the smell of decay and rot. Something deep inside her told her it was a trap. Her mind raced. She had to act, but what could she do against an entity that twisted the very fabric of her memories? She glanced back towards the rear window, a slim escape, her only chance. With a quick determination, she pushed Oliver away from the sinister figure, urging him through the kitchen towards the window. As they darted to it, the figure's laughter erupted again, echoing in sickening delight, chasing them. "You can't run. You belong to me." Lisa turned back for just an instant, catching a glimpse of the monstrous smile, eyes gleaming with an insatiable hunger. The woods beyond their sanctuary surged like a living nightmare, pregnant with terror. With her heart pounding, she ripped open the window with a groan of protest from the aging wood, her desperate breaths clouding in the chilled air. It shone outside, the dark void was waiting. "Jump!" she urged Oliver, her hands shaking as she braced herself for any impact, praying that fate would not cast them into something worse than what pursued. But just as they started to leap into the darkness, the figure lunged forward. Time seemed to freeze, suspending a moment of indecision. Where would they land? In the depths of accursed fate, or free into the unknown? Not yet. It roared, shadows billowing, clawing toward them, threatening to grasp, to pull them back just as they thought to escape. As they leaped out into the abyss, the world faded into a blur, questions brewing in Lisa's heart. Had they escaped, or had they merely traded one fear for another? Falling, everything became light and dark, pain and numbness. Would the forest cradle them or consume them with its eternal hunger? Why did she feel a familiar tug at her heart, almost like a whisper beckoning her back? And suddenly, the world slammed to a halt. The ground rushed up to meet them, but instead of hard earth, they encountered a soft, damp surface. It engulfed them like a thick fog, and they sank slightly, as if landing in a bed of moss. Lisa gasped, adrenaline screaming through her veins as she scrambled to her feet. The woods around them twisted and morphed in the shadows, their shapes pulsating under the flickering moonlight. "Mommy?" Oliver's voice trembled like the fragile leaves on swaying branches. "Right here." Lisa pulled him close, scanning the night for their next move. Panic clawed at her again. They had escaped one horror but plunged headfirst into another. The trees loomed like towering giants, their gnarled limbs reaching, scratching at the air, resembling skeletal hands yearning for something lost. "We shouldn't have jumped," Oliver whimpered, his voice echoing in the oppressive silence. "Stay quiet," Lisa hissed, feeling a pang of dread trickle down her spine. The air was thick with tension, as though the night itself was holding its breath, waiting. The laughter from the cabin still echoed in her head, a ghastly melody trailing behind them. What had come after them? The shadowy figure? Or something worse? Pressing her forehead against Oliver's hair, she felt him shiver. Each rustle in the underbrush rang like a bell, a warning to their primal instincts. She knew they couldn't stay still. They needed to find cover, but every direction felt like a trap. As they stumbled deeper into the woods, she recalled the stories told by campfire light of trees that whispered, shadows that crept, spirits that wandered. But this was no mere tale. The fear was pulsing, alive, swirling around them like a ghostly wind. "Mommy," Oliver's voice quivered, interrupting her thoughts. There's a light just beyond a cluster of trees, a faint glow flickered like a distant star, almost beckoning. Against her better judgment, she squeezed Oliver's hand and moved towards it. "See, Mon, maybe there are people there or something safe." The light grew brighter as they approached, revealing a small clearing. In the center stood an old, disheveled cabin. This one looked different than the one they had come from. Shadows danced along its edges, and a damp scent lingered in the air, sharp and heavy like a storm cloud. "Should we go in?" Oliver's small voice cracked, uncertainty ringing clearly in his tone. Lisa hesitated, her instinct screaming to turn back, but the pull of the light was stronger. "We have to check. It might be safe." As they moved toward the door, a voice, low and melodic, wove through the trees, sending chills racing down her spine. "Welcome, welcome lost souls in the woods." Her heart dropped, recognition dawning. The voice, it was sweet yet laden with something dark, something that tasted like poison on the tongue. The door creaked open of its own accord, revealing a dimly lit interior. Shadows twisted and writhed against the walls, beckoning to them, almost mocking their decision. "We shouldn't." Lisa instinctively placed a hand on Oliver's shoulder, ready to pull him back. But a sudden sound outside, a rush of footsteps and low whispers, made her blood run cold. They were not alone. Mommy Oliver was frozen beside her. "Get back!" she hissed, suddenly feeling all the hairs on her neck stand. The dark was alive, churning with unseeing eyes and ghastly laughter. She stepped into the cabin, pulling Oliver with her, as the whispers outside grew louder, surrounding them like wolves at the door. "Join us," the voice seductively crooned from inside. "We've been waiting for you." The cabin door slammed shut behind them, plunging them into darkness. An oppressive weight settled down, the air thickening, almost like being submerged in water. Lisa's heart thundered in her chest, adrenaline coursing through her, and as she spun around, an iron chill gripped her soul and the laugh returned, a horrific echo that twisted joy into dread. In the suffocating darkness, 1,000 lost dreams whispered against her ears, and something stirred in the corner. "Mommy, what's that?" Oliver murmured, his voice barely audible. Against the rising panic, Lisa's eyes narrowed in the dark, and as she took a slow breath, dread knitted tighter in her gut. What awaited them in this vessel of shadows? And perhaps more haunting, what if the figure from the cabin had followed them here too? The laughter grew louder. A horrifying realization dawned: they had stepped into the heart of fear itself. But then, from the pitch of dark, something shifted, a shadow moving, an answer lurking for them, watching, waiting. "Whatever you do, don't make a sound." Silence wrapped around them, thick and stifling. Lisa clutched Oliver tighter, her breath shallow and rapid. The darkness blurred her vision, making the cabin's walls appear to pulse and breathe, as if it were alive. Outside, the whispers morphed into a distant chant, a haunting serenade that echoed through the air, teasing their fragile sanity. "Mommy, I'm scared," Oliver whimpered, trembling against her as he sensed her fear. "Shush," she whispered, forcing herself to stay calm. She tilted her head, trying to make sense of the echoing voices that seemed to surround them, now more urgent, anxious. "We need to find a way out. We can't stay here." Suddenly, the cabin creaked like an old man's bones, sending a fresh wave of terror through her. A trickle of sweat slid down her spine. This place felt wrong. Each corner seemed to house an unseen menace, and the air vibrated with an unspoken threat. "Look!" Oliver's voice rang out, a mixture of hope and horror as his finger pointed into the darkness, toward a dim glow flickering behind a warped wooden table. "What is it?" Lisa crouched, bringing Oliver down beside her. The faint light flickered ominously, revealing more shadows that danced, elongating, buckling against the corners of their vision. He began, but a sudden jarring noise cut him off, a violent bang against the door they had entered. Panic surged through Lisa like ice water. "We need to move." She breathed harshly, gripping Oliver's trembling hand. They darted toward the light, but as they moved, chaos erupted. A chorus of snarls erupted from outside, and dark forms pressed against the door, their shapes indistinct yet threatening. "Join us. Come play." The voice, a distorted mimicry of childhood joy, chimed from somewhere close, but it held a sickening undertone that made her stomach turn. "Mommy." Oliver's voice cracked, pulling on her arm. "Just a bit closer," Lisa urged, forcing herself to stay steady. They rounded the table, and her heart dropped. The glow wasn't from a safe place, it was a single, flaring candle, sputtering atop a crumbling altar. Around it lay odd trinkets, bones, fragments of clothing, and what looked horrifically like dolls. Eyes wide, painted smiles plastered on their faces, gaze unseeing but filled with something unfathomable. "No, no," Lisa murmured, stepping back involuntarily. "Mommy, they look sad," Oliver whispered, his small hand clutching hers with a vice-like grip. "Yeah, they." The door shuddered violently again, splintering as something outside pushed harder. Lisa could see where the wood was crumbling, the darkness writhing, coming alive with rage. "We need to get out." She scanned the small room for other exits. Shadows pressed against the walls, clawing toward them, and in a flash, Lisa's eyes caught another door hidden behind a creaking shelf. "There!" she gasped. "Mommy, wait!" Oliver tugged on her sleeve, eyes wide with worry. "What if it's not safe?" "It's got to be better than this," Lisa snapped, fear bubbling over into desperation. She dashed toward the door, pulling Oliver with her. Just as they reached it, the door behind them splintered open, and a wave of darkness crashed into the cabin. The whispers escalated, a frenzied storm closing in on them. "Join us forever," the voice howled. With one last look over her shoulder, Lisa yanked the door open. The blinding light from the other side captivated them for a second, shimmering with the promise of safety. But as they stepped through, a chilling thought pierced Lisa's mind. What if this door led them deeper into madness? Fleeting images of lost souls danced in her memory. "Don't look back," she commanded, grieving every step away from the place that sought to consume them, but as they stumbled into the brightness, the floor seemed to pulse beneath their feet, an insatiable hunger vibrating within the wood. "Mommy?" Oliver's voice trembled again, but this time, it wasn't just panic. It was a chilling question. Uncertainty gnawed at her. What if stepping into the light had merely set them on another path toward darkness? It hit her all at once. This wasn't over. The whispers were changing, morphing, as if the cabin and the woods had merely unleashed a new horror upon them. "Run!" she urged, but as they fled, ominous laughter trailed behind, echoing through the trees what awaited them in the shimmering light. What if the absolute horror was still to come, lurking just beyond the threshold? The moment they crossed the threshold, the air felt alive, electric with an unspeakable force. The brightness engulfed them, but it was not warm. Instead, it chilled them to the bone. Lisa glanced down at Oliver. Wide eyes reflected fear and confusion, mirroring her own spiraling thoughts. What had they just stepped into? Around them, the light flickered, shifting shapes like an illusion before her eyes. They were no longer in the cabin. A twisted forest surrounded them, trees towering like gnarled fingers stretching toward a stormy sky. The whispers transformed into the rustling leaves, each sound a conspiratorial murmur urging them deeper into the woods. "Mommy, it's scary," Oliver whispered, his voice barely above a breath. Her heart raced. "Stay close to me, Ollie," Lisa replied, her voice trembling. The ground beneath them felt unstable, alive with shifting roots and rocks that seemed eager to trip them up. A path lay ahead, winding into the bleakness of the forest. "We have to keep moving," she said, pushing forward. Every step sent tremors of unease through her, as if the very earth were warning them to turn back. Oliver stumbled, almost falling into the underbrush. "I don't like it here," he cried, frustration and fear bursting forth. "I know," Lisa shouted back, a sharp edge to her voice that surprised even her. "But we have to get out. We can't let them find us." The shadows lengthened around them, encroaching like a tidal wave, hungry for their despair. She could hear that vile laughter cliff hanging over them, echoing in the treetops, mocking their fear. Then, a sudden sound halted Lisa in her tracks. A snap. She turned, but nothing was there. The tension in her every muscle screamed at her to walk faster, to escape, but curiosity pulled her toward the ominous noise. "Did you hear that?" she asked, breathless. Oliver nodded, his grip tightening on her hand. "Let us go," she said, dragging him along as the shadows whispered secrets of body and soul. The path twisted abruptly into a thicket where the light thinned, forcing them to push through a curtain of branches that scratched at their skin, and then, they emerged into a clearing. The scene sent chills through her spine. A circle of sickly white flowers bloomed, stark against the dirt. Beneath the blossoms lay a cracked stone slab, inscribed with ancient symbols that twisted her insides into knots. "What is that?" Oliver asked, staring wide-eyed at the sight before them. "I don't know," she whispered, horrified. An instinct screamed for Lisa to turn away, to run, but the slab seemed to pulse with an unholy energy, drawing her closer. As she stepped forward, the air thickened, and the whispers crescendoed into panic. "Mommy!" Oliver's cry yanked her back. "Please don't go there." Suddenly, shadows surged from the tree-line, forming grotesque faces, their eyes glowing with malice. Lisa felt the world tilt as Oliver tugged her, desperation flooding his voice. "We have to leave." She grabbed his hand, turning to flee. But the ground roared beneath them, the plants snarling and reaching. Her heart hammered against her ribs as they stumbled backward, teetering on the edge of the clearing. The laughter rose again, wrapping around them, drowning out her thoughts. It was all around, an echoing nightmare. "Join us." The voices sang, sweet and sickening. Lisa turned just in time to see a mass of shadows clawing toward them, tendrils of darkness stretching, intent on dragging them into the soil. "Run!" she screamed, pulling Oliver with all her might, but the branches seemed to reach for them, threatening to hold them back forever. In the chaos, her mind reeled. Was this forest their judgment, a final trap from whatever haunted that cabin? Or was it just the beginning of a darker fate? As they fled deeper into the heart of the forest, Lisa could feel it, a chilling certainty tightening in her chest that they had yet to escape anything at all. What lay ahead in this haunted expanse? Or worse, what waited behind them in the dark? The answers danced tantalizingly out of reach, buried within the suffocating shadows. The ground trembled as they ran, the laughter pursuing them like a predator. Each step felt heavier, the very air saturated with dread. Lisa looked back, desperate to see if the shadows were still following. The sight of those grotesque forms twisted her stomach into knots. "Mommy, don't look back!" Oliver shouted, fear slicing through his voice. "Right!" Lisa gasped, forcing herself to focus on the path ahead, but it was hard to see. The light was dimming, swallowed by the trees that clawed at the sky. Shadows stretched and twisted, morphing into menacing shapes as the whispers resumed, urging her to listen, to turn. They dashed into a dense thicket, dodging branches that seemed to lunge toward them. "This way!" She shouted, the words escaping her mouth like a warning. But as they pushed through the foliage, the path ended suddenly, dropping them into a shallow pit. "Stay close," she urged, pulling Oliver back. The pit was damp, the earth squelching beneath their feet. The oppressive smell hit them, a sickly sweet rot that made her skin crawl. "Mommy, what is this place?" Oliver's voice was a quiver, eyes darting around the darkness that enveloped them. Before she could answer, her breath caught in her throat. A figure loomed above them, partially obscured in shadow. "You should not have entered," it intoned, voice like gravel crunching underfoot. Lisa's instincts screamed to run, but her legs felt frozen. The figure shifted, revealing a face twisted by time and despair, eyes hollow and hungry. "You belong to the forest now," it whispered, stretching a hand draped with old, rotting leaves toward them. "No. Get back." Lisa yanked Oliver behind her, pushing him toward the edge of the pit. The shadows swirled, closing in around them. Every heartbeat pounded in her ears as she searched frantically for a way out. "What do we do?" Oliver wailed, trembling against her side. "Just hold on to me," she shouted, adrenaline coursing through her veins. With sudden urgency, Lisa scrambled up the side of the pit, kicking dirt and debris as she climbed. The figure's laughter echoed behind her, cold and bitter like the approaching winter. Oliver clung to her, each inch gained feeling like climbing a mountain of despair. Finally, they broke free, crashing onto the solid ground outside the pit. Panting, Lisa looked back. The figure was gone, but the laughter echoed through the trees, a mocking hymn that chilled her down to her very core. "Keep running," she urged again, taking Oliver's hand and sprinting down a narrow trail snaking through the darkness. The whispering grew louder, more frantic. Stay with us," it beckoned, a chorus of voices entwining and urging her deeper into the woods. It vibrated against her skin and gnawed at her mind, clawing for her sanity. "Mommy!" Oliver cried, his voice piercing through the din. "I don't want to." "We have to, Ollie. Please." The tremor in her own voice scared her. They were miles from safety, trapped in a place that thrived on terror. Shadows pulled at her, and with every beat of her heart, she felt that dark energy trying to snare them back, but ahead, she caught sight of something. A flickering light, a beacon amidst the chaos. "There!" Lisa shouted, sprinting toward it, hope carving a way through the gloom. As they neared, the light morphed into a swirling mist that hung in the air. It danced enticingly, veils of silver that beckoned them closer. Lisa's heart raced with a desperate hope. Could this be an exit? "Ollie, stay with me," she breathed, but the mist whispered sweetly, promising safety and warmth. Yet as they pressed forward, doubt crept in. What if it was another trap? What if this was the forest's final torment? The realization gnawed at her, entangling with her growing dread. Before she could decide, the mist thickened, swirling around them and obscuring her view. With a final look into the dark woods behind them, Lisa stepped into the light, clutching Oliver's hand fiercely. In that moment, the laughter stopped. The air felt still and charged, waiting. What lay beyond this veil? Would they find salvation? Or simply another layer of horror? The answers hovered just out of reach, lost within the mist that promised both deliverance and doom. The mist enveloped them, its cool tendrils curling around Lisa and Oliver, suffocating yet strangely soothing. The eerie stillness swallowed their breaths, each pulse in the thick fog echoing the silent thrum of their hearts. It was as if time stood still, wrapping them in a moment stretched forever. "Mommy, I can't see," Oliver whimpered, clutching her leg. "Just stay close, Ollie. We'll find a way out," Lisa insisted, hoping the tremor in her voice didn't betray the rising fear within her. Every shadow in her mind screamed to turn back, but the weight of the laughter still loomed over her like a dark cloud. The mist shifted, swirling like a phantom dance, and in that pure white void, a low hum began to seep into the air. It was melodic yet chilling, a haunting lullaby that intertwisted with the whisper of the trees. Stay with us," it sang, and Lisa felt the pull of it, seductive and dangerous. "No!" she shouted, fighting against the grip of the sound. "We have to go." She yanked at Oliver, but he hesitated, entranced. "Ollie, please!" she cried, desperation lacing her voice. She could sense that the mist was shifting, eager to ensnare them in illusions of peace while actually pulling them deeper into the forest's grasp. With a fierce tug, Lisa pulled Oliver away, the haze biting at their heels. A heartbeat later, the fog began to dissolve, giving way to a dark expanse, a clearing that stretched ominously ahead. Flickering forms flicked in and out of focus, shadows weaving strange shapes that twisted in the fading light. "Where are we?" Oliver's gaze flitted nervously, eyes wide with fear. The shadows near the edges of the clearing twisted into humanoid shapes, blending into the darkness. They whispered to one another, fragments of words drifting like smoke in the still air. Lisa pressed Oliver behind her, instinctively positioning herself as a barrier against the growing darkness. "I don't know, just stay close," she murmured, swallowing the dread pooling in her throat. The figures stepped forward, revealing gaunt faces with hollow eyes. "You have come to join us," one rasped, its voice a sibilant hiss that slithered into her mind. "The forest hungers for your souls. Run!" Lisa urged, heart racing, but the spectral figures circled them, their movements graceful yet predatory. They swayed, feeding off her panic, echoing her fears as they encroached ever closer. "No!" she shouted, pushing Oliver behind a massive oaken tree, its gnarled roots like gaping maws. "Mommy, I'm scared," Oliver cried, trembling against the bark. "Me too," she whispered, battling the tremors in her hands. The trees loomed like prisoners, entangled in vines that writhed, alive with energy. The ground shook beneath them, the forest roaring to life, angered by their presence. Lisa felt the energy crackle in the air, a malevolent force building in the darkened expanse. She reached out, grabbing Oliver's small hand, her mind racing. They had stumbled deeper into the heart of a malevolence that craved them. Suddenly, a screech ripped through the air, a sound so visceral it pierced through the madness around them. Shadows recoiled and gasped, revealing carved faces etched with rage and anguish. The clearing transformed, the sky darkening, leaving only the glow of unnatural light pinned against the horizon. "We need to find a way to escape," Lisa shouted, scanning the darkness, looking for any sign of hope, a path to safety. But before they could move, the figures lunged, reaching for them with skeletal fingers. "You can't escape!" they cried in chorus, voices intertwining into a cacophony of despair. The trees quivered, their roots seething with life, ready to ensnare. As the laughter returned, buoyed by the shrieks of the spectral figures, Lisa faced the terrifying reality: they were not alone in this hell. "Mommy!" Oliver whimpered, and as Lisa held her son tightly, a decision gripped her. What was the price of survival? With a surge of ferocity, she pushed forward, dragging Oliver with her. They burst into the thick shadows, sprinting away from the oncoming horror, but only the deeper darkness welcomed them. As they dashed back into the trees, the hollow laughter echoed, louder and more relentless. But one question haunted her: what if they were truly lost? Ahead, she saw another flickering light, yet this felt different, intangible and shivering under the weight of their panic. Could it be salvation or the lure of something far worse? Lisa hesitated, her heart pounding as she gripped her son tighter. Where could she lead him now that every moment felt like a descent into madness? The flickering light danced, drawing Lisa closer. It pulsated with a strange energy, almost like a heartbeat, a temporary reprieve from the chaos behind them. She hesitated again, her instincts fighting against the allure of the glow. Nothing in this forest was what it seemed. "Look, Mommy," Oliver said, pointing as his wide eyes reflected the eerie light. "It's pretty. Being enraptured by its beauty could be their doom." "No, Ollie, don't look at it," Lisa exclaimed, panic seeping through her words. She squeezed his hand tighter, keeping her eyes fixed on the shifting darkness around them. The laughter grew distant but never fully disappeared, a reminder of the danger lurking just beyond sight. Heart pounding, she let instinct take over and began to move closer to the light. Each step felt like a gamble as the brightness swirled and morphed in unsettling ways. The forest breathed around them, trees creaking ominously, their branches reaching out like bony fingers. As they neared, a figure emerged from the shadows of the light. A woman, her features soft yet painted with sorrow, floated a few inches above the ground, illuminated by the pale haze. "Help us," she beckoned, her voice a silky weave of longing and despair. Lisa felt her heart cave. "What do you want?" she whispered, trying to mask her fear. The woman's eyes, endless voids of black, locked onto hers, pulling at something deep inside her. "Stay with us," the apparition intoned, a plea layered with an urgency that gripped at Lisa's throat. It felt almost human, yet arcs of darkness flickered just under her skin. "No!" Lisa shot back, anger spiking through her terror. "We need to go." But the woman's expression shifted, a hint of rage flashing through the sorrow. "You are bound now, you cannot leave." The air grew thick, wrapping around Lisa like a noose, suffocating and tight. Oliver tugged at his mother's clothing, fear etched into his young face. "Mommy, I don't like her." The whispering shadows surged forward in response to the apparition's command, filling the clearing with sickly slickness, their forms shimmering in and out of existence like smoke. The ground cracked beneath Lisa's feet, and she felt as if she were sinking into a nightmare. "Run!" Lisa yelled, breaking the spell. She grasped Oliver's hand, tearing him away from the figure's magnetic pull, and they stumbled toward the edge of the light. Desperation blasted through them like the force of a storm. Yet the whispers clawed at their resolve, echoing from every direction, mocking their attempts to escape. "You are ours, you will stay." As they sprinted away, Lisa could feel them cold fingers grazing across her back, wrapping around her soul as the phantoms swirled and danced. For a moment, she glanced back, heart racing, to see the shadowy figures merging with the woman, their eyes fixated on her, as if her fear was their feast. In the chaos, she spotted an overgrown trail, vine-choked yet distinct. "This way, Ollie!" she shouted, dragging him toward it. The path was almost swallowed by darkness, but something in her gut told her it could lead to a way out. Every instinct screamed at her to turn back, to huddle in fear. But they had no choice. The forest's grip tightened. They pressed on, heartbeats synchronized in pounding dread, adrenaline sharpening her focus as she ran deeper down the unknown trail. But just as hope flared, the laughter resumed, now layered with anger. The very ground beneath them trembled with the might of twisted spirits who longed for company. Lisa stopped short as a chasm opened ahead, swallowing the path. An abyss stared back, dark and alive, breathing horror. "Mommy, what do we do?" Oliver wailed. "I don't know," she breathed, panic tightening her chest. Just a few feet away, the ground was crumbling, shadows reaching out to pull them into the bottomless void. With trembling hands, she searched for something, anything. The flickering light behind them pulsed a sense of twisted desire. "We have to jump," she said, realizing they had no other option. Then, the shadows closed in, clinging to them with freezing hands. "You can't escape this time." The ground continued to quake, threatening to disband their sanity, and with that, Lisa's grip on reality slipped away, eyes darting between the abyss before them and the seductive light behind. "Hold on tight, Ollie," she shouted, braving the unknown, but in that moment of fear, one final scream escaped her lips as darkness enveloped them, a question echoing through the void: would they ever truly escape the forest's clutches? The world shattered around them, then reformed, heavy and suffocating. Lisa blinked, her heart pounding, as she tried to comprehend where they had landed. The chilling darkness, although suffocating, had ceased its vice-like hold. They found themselves standing in a clearing, surrounded by trees that looked oddly familiar. The air felt thicker, charged with anticipation. The whispers faded to mere echoes, lingering like a bad dream on the edge of consciousness. "Mommy?" Oliver's small voice broke the silence, tentative and trembling. Right here, Ollie, she murmured, searching for signs of life in the expanse around them. Her pulse quickened as she took in their surroundings. There were no shadowy figures, no disembodied laughter. Yet the air was laced with something else, a kind of electric tension that set her nerves ablaze. It felt like being caught in a web, threads nearly invisible yet suffocating. Then, a soft glow emerged from behind the trees. Lisa felt an instinctual pull, an urge to move forward. "Let us see what's out there," she whispered, her heart racing as she took Oliver's hand tightly, leading him toward the flicker of light. The woods parted before them, almost welcoming them into a warm embrace. As they stepped into the clearing, the light intensified, illuminating the space. A small campfire flickered at the center, crackling gently, a stark contrast to the overwhelming darkness and dread that had chased them. "Mommy, look!" Oliver pointed at a figure sitting beside the fire. It was an elderly woman, her hair silver like moonlight, wearing a long, flowing dress made of soft fabric. Her face radiated warmth, a serene smile offered freely. "Welcome, dear ones," the woman said, her voice soothing and melodic, cutting through the remnants of tension. "You've traveled far, haven't you? But your journey isn't over yet." Lisa's heart fluttered cautiously. "Who are you?" "I am a guide," she replied, her gaze deep and wise, as if she could see into Lisa's very soul. "You entered the woods for a reason, a confrontation with your fears. But now, in this sacred space, you can choose to move forward. Can we leave? We want to go home." Oliver's voice trembled, his innocence catching the weight of the situation. The woman nodded gently. "It is not the darkness outside that binds you. It's the fear within. Only by facing it can you find your way home." Lisa felt the air grow still. In that moment, the laughter, the shadows, the whispers, it all came crashing down like a dam breaking. Images flashed through her mind, the cabin, the grotesque figure, her grandmother's voice, the other children trapped within those trees. Face what? She asked, overwhelmed by emotion. How could she confront something so deeply rooted in her heart? "The truth," the woman replied. "You carry shadows that keep you imprisoned. Only by accepting your past can you set yourselves free." Lisa looked down at Oliver. His wide eyes glistened with a mix of fear and trust. If she wanted to protect him, she had to be brave. "I'm scared," she whispered, feeling the weight of vulnerability crash over her. "Fear is a part of the journey," the woman smiled gently. "But you are not alone." With that, a wave of calm washed over Lisa. The fire crackled reassuringly, the light flickering around them felt like a warm hug. "Okay," Lisa found herself saying, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'll try." In that moment of resolve, the light glimmered brighter. The ground beneath them pulsed with energy, the shadows scattering like smoke. The whispers retreated, replaced with an unearthly hum, an echo of hope. "Let go," the woman said softly. "Move forward into the light." Without hesitation, Lisa picked up Oliver, holding him close, letting the warmth of light envelop them. As they stepped toward the fire, it ignited into a blaze, blinding and beautiful. The shadows shrieked, the darkness tore away like a brittle veil, exposing the clear path ahead. With one last breath, Lisa could feel something shift inside her, a release. Together, they stepped into the blaze. The warmth enveloped them entirely, and they were suddenly outside again, beneath a sky full of stars shimmering brighter than ever. They were home. In a breath, the last vestiges of fear vanished, replaced by a blissful calm. The cabin stood behind them, transformed now, no longer a figure of dread but a sanctuary of memories, both sweet and sorrowful. "Mommy! We made it!" Oliver squealed, his laughter ringing clear like a bell, shattering the last remnants of darkness that had clung to them. "I know, Oliver. We made it," Lisa smiled through her tears, relief washing over her like a summer rain. "And now, we're free." They turned to leave the woods behind, feeling the shadows fall away, leaving only the light of joy to illuminate their path forward. And as they walked into their shared future, the heartbeat of the forest faded behind them, a haunting memory at peace. At last, thank you all for witnessing this journey with us. Don't let this feeling fade away. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories, smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending, and instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to support the channel so we can keep creating stories that pull you in like this one. Don't wait even one more second to share. Your engagement matters.